I guess now is the time to kind of do the walkthrough of how I actually ended up in the Philippines. And one thing I'll start off with is it is raining right now. Hopefully the lapel microphone's not going to pick that up too much and you're still going to be able to hear what I'm saying. If not, I'm just going to have to go back through and re-record this later. But the last video I had mentioned that I was talking to a girl online here in the Philippines, getting into a romantic relationship with her, and was really talking to her about the possibility of moving here faster than I had originally planned. You know, my original plan was to start getting things ready so that in a couple years, when my VA rating increased, which meant my monthly pay would increase, and I would receive a little bit of back pay to the time that I originally filed it. That was kind of my plan. That way I'd have enough money that I knew I would be living okay here. I would have enough money to, get settled in. But the way things were going financially back in, Oregon where I was living, I really started thinking things are going to be extremely tough. I can't deal with this anymore. What are my other options? And as I'm starting to talk to her and I'm, just going through those questions of asking like, what is the cost of living? What are the bills? What's the budget going to look like? I really started making a very detailed budget, and I realized that I'd be able to make it here. Not the best conditions and all that, but I would be able to make it here. So I made the commitment that that's what I was going to do. Unfortunately, because of the whole fiasco of having a friend stay with me under the assumption he was going to be paying me, I was out of savings. I had no savings left whatsoever by this point. I had pawned everything I owned of value that I could pawn. I'd already sold my washer and dryer, and all I had left really was some other furniture, and none of it was, being the fact that you're going to be selling it used and stuff, you're not going to really get all that much money out of it. I start looking at what is it going to cost for me to move. I'm going to have to get a new passport because mine had expired. I hadn't used it for a while, so I'm going to need a new passport. I'm going to have to purchase my tickets, so one-way ticket. I'm going to have to look into, just making sure all of that stuff is situated and make sure I have enough money so that when I get there, I've got money to pay for moving into an apartment, which means, first, last deposit. You're going to have to probably get some furniture, appliances, things like that. I knew that when I got here, I'm not just going to immediately have a place to live. So I'm going to be probably staying in like a hotel or something like that for a few weeks. Got to have money for that. I'm going to have money for travel expenses, meals, additional stuff like getting your laundry done. So I knew I'm going to need money. And the money that I was earning was not even really enough to cover my bills. I'm barely getting by, surviving off of food bank donations. It was difficult. I couldn't get help from family because they were also going through financial problems. My dad's permanently disabled. His sole income is his disability, and that covers his bills. He doesn't have anything extra. My mom was going through some challenges with her work and her landlord trying to screw her over. So the work that she's doing on the side is just enough to cover her bills. She doesn't have anything extra. So I really didn't have any other option. So what I started doing is I was starting to make the list of everything that I'm going to keep and everything that I'm going to sell, things I'm going to give away, things that I'm going to throw away. So I'm looking at all my furniture. What is everything worth? So I'm looking at, okay, what did I pay for it? What is the depreciation value considering how old it is and its condition? And I'm starting to write down prices. So I've got my asking price, and then I've got my bare minimum price to let it go kind of thing. And then I'm thinking also, okay, I've got stuff in the pawn shop that I still need to get because I want to bring it with me. I had my laptop computer. Got to have that because once I come here to the Philippines, that laptop is going to be my only way of taking care of business. I do online banking. My VA disabilities direct deposited into a U.S. bank account. I'm going to have to figure out how to get that money while I'm here. I have to shuffle the money around because it goes into one account when I, spend it from a different account. I've got to keep track of all my VA paperwork, the appeals that are going on. So, I mean, everything that I'm doing, I'm going to need a computer. So I knew I needed to get my laptop out. I also had my really nice camcorder that I had pawned off. I was hoping to get that so I could go through and film the whole process of getting ready, of the moving, of getting here, and using it to film, for my family and stuff, just life here, being able to send them videos and stuff. So I wanted to get my camcorder out. I had pawned all my guns. I still had in my closets, I still had all these different accessories for these firearms as well as all the ammunition. My intent was to go and spend money to get them out of the pawn shop and then turn around and sell the firearms as a bundle. So you get a firearm and all the accessories and all the ammo for that firearm. The cost to get it out of the pawn shop wasn't going to be cheap, but after selling it all as a big ass bundle at a decent price, I was going to make some profit off of it. So I figured if I can just somehow get the money first to get it out of the pawn shop, I'll be able to sell it and make a profit. Other stuff that was in the pawn shop, power tools, my Dremel set, things like that, I realized that the money it would have cost to get it out of the pawn shop wasn't worth it, because if I try to turn around and sell it, I might make less money or I'm not going to really make any profit. It's just not worth the time. And again, this, when I really made the decision for sure that I was going to be moving here, this was in around May of 2019. So I'm just looking at, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? And for several months, I'm just listing all my stuff online and just trying to figure out how I'm going to come up with the money, struggling with it. People aren't wanting to buy stuff. You've only got limited places like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace that you can put your items for sale. I'm trying to figure out the logistics of what do I need to do to get my tickets. I'm looking at ticket prices. Ticket prices are just really high. And this goes on for several months. And finally, in around December of 2019, I'm able to see that ticket prices have gone really low, and I can get a one-way ticket to the Philippines for around $500. I look at it more and more, and I'm figuring out that, okay, if I move out, I look, and my ticket price that was that low was departing towards the beginning of February. Before that, the minimum price was $600-700, and after that it was $600-800, even $900. So that first 2 weeks of February, right before Valentine's Day, that looked like the perfect time bracket to be able to buy my tickets at a cheap price. And again, this was back in early December of 2019. And I figured if I can get my tickets now, I'll have the rest of December and all of January to sell off all of my stuff. And that way, right at the end of January, I would vacate my apartment, find someone else, a family member or something like that, that I could stay with for a few days, a week, whatever, until my ticket was leaving. That way, for the month of February, since I'm not paying for rent, utilities, or anything like that, most of my February check is just going to be able to go towards expenses while I'm in the country here, in the Philippines once I arrive. So if I can sell off all my furniture and do all this stuff before the end of January, I should have enough money to take care of everything. But it wasn't that simple, because I have to buy my ticket right now, and then I'm going to need my passport. Passports can take 2, 3, 4 months, depending on just how many people have applied. I didn't have that long. And I realized that one of the passport agencies, they have an option for an expedited service. They end up costing twice as much to get your passport renewed, but they can get it in 2 weeks. I figure I'm going to have to get that by the end of January, because they're going to be mailing it back to my apartment. So that means by the middle of January, I have to come up with the money for my passport. I'm also going to have to come up with the money for a place to stay, so I'm looking into those options. And I'm just listing all my items on sale. I get occasional people that'll call about it, come in, but it's just not going very fast. Again, this is in the middle of the winter time, very heavy winter. We had a lot of snow. And it started causing problems because the place where I live, it's in a smaller neighborhood out of the way. The city does not plow these roads, and it's on the top of a hill, so there's a steep road that goes down a little bit. It's hard for people that live there to get up that hill when there's snow and ice to get to their house. For somebody to come and have to drive up that hill in that crappy weather, grab furniture, and then try and move furniture safely along snowy and icy roads back to their house, I can understand why people were hesitant to come take a look at furniture. But this is when I'm needing to get rid of it. By the end of December, I was able to have, sold a bunch of furniture, about half of it. I was able to sell off my really nice high-end computer with just tons and tons of accessories. Pretty much what I did is around like middle of December, I purchased my airline tickets, and then beginning of January, I paid half of the payment for an Airbnb at a condo in Manila. I was going to have the condo from the day I arrived until, I was planning to get here leave February 10th. I'd be arriving in the Philippines February 12th. So the condo was going to be rented from February 12th to March 2nd. Now the reason March 2nd is because I would be getting paid again from my VA pay on March 1st. But because the Philippines time difference, I wanted to make sure I had plenty of time to get that money withdrawn, have it in hand when I go in to actually pay for the apartment, lease, and move in stuff. So I figured March 2nd would be the perfect date to be moving into whatever I'm going to be moving into and out of the condo. So it was like 3 weeks. And that ended up costing me $500 something, a little bit less than $600. The reason that we got the condo is because my fiance works in Quezon City in Metro Manila. And for her to drive back and forth from here where we live now, where our family lives, all the way to work, it's like 2.5, sometimes 3 hours every morning. She got to get up really early, take the long trip there. Then after work, she gets out at 3, but she doesn't get home until 5:30, 6 o'clock. That was going to chew away at time that we would have to spend getting to know each other and going out, looking at apartments, things like that. So the reason I got the condo, for one, where it was at, a little bit more expensive than other places, but it had a kitchen, so we'd be able to cook our meals and stuff. We wouldn't have to worry about eating out all the time. There was a grocery store right downstairs from that condo, so I could go in there and get whatever grocery supplies that we needed. And at the same time, her office building is literally right around the corner, like on the other side of the block. So it's like a 2-3 minute walk tops. So that would have been really convenient. When it's in the morning time, she wants to get up to go to work. It's just such a short walk, she can sleep in a little bit longer. When she gets out of work, she just comes straight back to the condo. During lunch break, I'm right there. We just meet up and we go out somewhere for lunch, or she could come back to the condo and I'll cook her lunch. And so that was the main reason why I paid a little bit more for the condo, but still it wasn't too bad of a price. So I was able to get those reserved. And the way that Airbnb works is when you reserve a place, you're able to pay half of it now and then pay the other half before you actually go. So I paid half of it at the beginning of the month, and then the other half I paid at the end of the month. So at the end of January, I covered that other portion. But I still had to come up with the money for my passport, and at this point, things are getting really challenging because nobody's wanting to come and look at the rest of the furniture that's there. So I'm really getting concerned that I'm not going to be able to get my passport in time to be able to hop on the flight. Eventually things were able to work out, and last minute some people came and I had to sell my furniture substantially lower than what it was worth. I got almost nothing for certain things, which meant that the money I thought I would have when I got here was not that much, but at least I had enough to pay for my passport. And by this point, I've got all that out of the way. Now it's just a matter of still finishing up, packing boxes, cleaning out the apartment, and getting ready to leave. Make sure I've got everything in order, my paperwork and all that stuff. My passport ended up arriving 3 days before I moved out, so it was within that timeline. Close call, but still. And then at the end of January, I moved out. I moved into my mom's place, and I stayed there until February 10th. For 10 days I was living at my mom's house, and then I flew out of the country. It was one of those things where it took a lot longer than I would have liked. From the day that I started chatting with Vina online was February 10th. The day that I flew out of the United States, where, I'm getting ahead of myself there. When I got on an airplane, the first flight of my departure out of the U.S., that was also February 10th. So 1 year to the day of chatting with her and all that, that I'm finally going to be able to leave and move over here and, have life with her kind of thing. It was a very challenging process because that whole time I'm fighting with different bills and financial situation. It's not easy. The years that I was making decent money, I had more than enough to cover my bills to where it was never a concern. I had the money in the bank. When a bill came through, yeah, whatever, auto pay. You're not even looking at the bills much. If I wanted to go eat out, I eat out. If I wanted to go do something, I did it because I knew I had plenty of money. Still had savings, so I was good. And then all of a sudden, they take all that money away. You go back down to having just barely enough to, literally, just to survive. It's a very difficult change, and I'm not saying that I'm used to living like an extravagant lifestyle or anything like that. No, I'm just saying that going from being able to eat nice stir fries where you can afford all the expensive fruits and vegetables and everything and eat a healthy diet, to the point where every day you're eating only twice a day, and your meals sometimes consist of 1 cup of instant white rice and 2 fried eggs, and that is your meal. Maybe a little salt and pepper if you've got any left in the cabinet, but that really is like just a good example of how things can change. Started affecting my diet, gaining weight, things like that. But this whole process of just getting everything ready, I'd been doing plenty of research for a couple of years, so I had more than enough research done and everything. It was just certain questions I couldn't get answered, certain information I just couldn't find, which is one of the big reasons why I'm doing this channel, because I know from my experience there were certain details that I felt would have been so much more useful in planning to move and in the moving process. If I would have had that information before I came here, things would have been a little bit easier. I would have avoided certain mistakes, things like that. And I'm pretty sure right now there are guys out there that have questions that they just aren't getting the right answers, or they're not getting any answers from other channels, watching other videos. Hopefully I'm going to be able to answer some of those questions that others might just have missed, or they are just out of date. So that pretty much covers all that up until when I'm leaving the country. Next video, I'll go ahead and actually discuss the travel portion, which did not go smoothly. It was a very close call. So I'll kind of save that for the next video.